In high school, I would have my dad come and talk to like my history classes and things. I'd get extra credit if I could get my dad to come talk, because the Brown versus Board of Education centered here in Topeka, and my dad had reopened that case because we had not integrated our schools.
What we found when we were going to grade school is that people hated us because we were trying to make them do right with regard to minorities. And that's what my father stood for and has always stood for, and forged that battle in large part as the only person in this state that would be the voice for the minorities. And so they used to beat us up when we'd go to school. And I remember several times coming home, and my brother Tim, and you know, he was just a little guy then, not like now. And so we'd be walking home and they'd just take off after him, and they'd just pick him, swing him around like he's some kind of, just because, and they'd call us nigger lovers, and just because we were doing what was right. And the same thing today.
Because Jerry Falwell and James Dobson are trying to make money. They'll offer you what you want to hear. They'll create a boogeyman where there may or may not be one. And for the little bit of TV I ever see, when they're eating, and it seems like SpongeBob is on around the hour when they're doing that. And yes, I've heard the controversy, and again, it's just silly. If they're trying to make out like SpongeBob was gay, we missed it. And thanks for bringing that to our attention, and we don't care.
Well, I'm a pretty friendly person, and so it would depend on whether the person knew what my last name was as to how they would treat me. If they didn't know my last name, we would be fast friends, and everyone, pretty nice, and then they would find out what my last name was, and it would all change. Or they would know what my last name was, and then they would be just rude to me from the beginning, so.
God hates America, land of the facts. He abhors her, deplores her, day and night, all his might, all her ways. From her preachers, so-called, to her leaders, so-called, to her people, so-called, all of us. God hates America, the perverse home. God hates America, the filthy faggot's home. The dying soldier's home.
We're going to tell you straight up, homosexuality ought to be a crime, and it ought to have the death penalty affixed to it. And after we've told you that, we've done our job. We are not the government. We do not have the right to put our hands on people in any kind of an illegal or violent manner. We have one authorized methodology: words.
This is how you love your neighbor as yourself. You warn them that their sin is taking them to hell. That's how you love your neighbor. And in those terms, in the Bible terms, we're the only ones who can say we even love you.
There's more said about the hatred and wrath of God by far in the Bible than is said about his love and mercy. The hatred of God is not an evil passion as it is with many humans.
And then you can match that up with Romans 9:13, where it says, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. Before those two babies were even born, God decided who he hated and who he loved. So it's nothing that you did. It's that God loved you before you were born. He chose you. And if he didn't choose you, you're doomed to hell. You're appointed to hell.
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son.
For all the believers.
Yeah.
And then he says those that don't believe are condemned already.
Look, if you can get on the national TV, get on it. If you can get 2020 out here like we did a few years back, do it. That's the high mountain. Will you hoist that banner so that it may be displayed because of the truth and the love of the truth?
That's my job. Make people mad. Doing a good job so far. My dad came out here one time to see me before he died. He said, Bubba, you're getting everybody in the world mad at you. He says, and I don't understand it. So I recommend that you not mess around about it. Why don't you just start kicking people in the shins? Get them mad right away. He didn't understand it.